We all have things we're carrying: stress, anxiety, pressure, distractions, mountains that appear everywhere in our lives. But where I see mountains, I also see opportunity, and that opportunity is to get outdoors. This is the Mountains Are Everywhere podcast. So lace up those boots, cinch down those packs, and let's head for the mountains. All right, what's going on? And welcome to this episode of the Mountains Are Everywhere podcast. If you're new or if you're not, I just want to say thank you for deciding to give me a little bit of your time. I'll do my best to try and return some value to it. If you are new to the show, scratch that. If you are a return listener to the show, you might have noticed something a little bit different. And if you are new to the show, I'll just let you know that my intro is different now. And also the podcast art is different. And there's really no agenda to this show. I guess part of it is to explain to you why the intro is a little bit different now. But other than that, I did write down a bunch of notes, little things I want to try to hit on. But I guess overall, no rigid topic to this episode. It's just kind of a check-in, let you guys know what I've been up to and how I'm doing and stuff like that. So before we get into the new intro and whatnot, I'll just do a little recap of my time since my last podcast. Not a whole lot changed. I've been shooting my recurve a good bit because I'm still on restrictions from the doctor, and I'm not ready to go full bore shoot my compound yet. So been shooting the recurve, having a lot of fun with that. I was just shooting our practice range, mainly at 20 yards. Every now and then I'd go out to about 40, but mostly just shooting that. But I've transitioned over the last 2 weeks into shooting 3D a little bit. And I'll admit that my quiver has dwindled in size since I started 3D, but it's still been a lot of fun. But I've got to the point where I can be pretty consistent, at least at 20 yards on the practice range. And I found I can hit the block at 40 and not miss. But then you put me on a 3D course with angles and different size targets and odd ranges, and I have not found home much yet. So I've lost at least one arrow every time I've shot 3D over the last 2 weeks. So definitely, again, relatively new, having a lot of fun. I want to get better. And that's just proof that I have a long way to go. Other than that, I traveled back to West Virginia last week for Bradley's wedding. If you guys don't know, Bradley's been on a couple of my episodes. You can search through and find Best Friends Cockrell Mountains, and two of the most recent ones. Oh, I'm blanking on what I titled them, but two of the more recent ones, Bradley was on those with me too. And anyways, I'll travel back for his wedding. Congratulations to you and Sarah. I love you guys. It was a beautiful wedding. I probably cried more than both of you did, but I'm a sap. But anyways, fantastic time being home. Something I was able to take advantage of while I was home was I got to go on my first turkey hunt in, about 16 years since I went turkey hunting. I went turkey hunting one time when I was a lot younger, during West Virginia's fall season. And I shot a hen with my bow, and that's a lie. I went turkey hunting one time since. I went turkey hunting one time since with my buddy Ski up in North Dakota when he had a tag. But other than that, I put out a feeler on Facebook. I got a response. I got invited on a turkey hunt while I was back home in West Virginia. It didn't get anything. The birds were really not doing anything at all. We heard one gobble on the roost early in the morning, and other than that, really nothing. We hunted hard. We hunted from 6 that morning to 1 in the afternoon. But regardless, I do want to say thank you to John and Carter. I'm not sure if you guys listen or not to the podcast, but I think I made sure to tell you thanks plenty when I was there. But I just want to say thanks again. I honestly haven't talked to those guys since 2014, since I graduated high school, and they were so willing and just very open to to taking me out and trying to get me on a bird. They worked hard for it, and I really, again, I can't thank you guys enough. And I'd say I was not in the least disappointed that we didn't get a bird, or even disappointed that we didn't have more action than we did. There was a moment where the three of us were, it was coming up on mid-morning, and we had walked pretty long ways along the property line, down about as far as we'd wanted to go. And there was just a moment where we stopped and we just started talking about Jesus. And it was a fantastic conversation. And I'm glad that it came up. And that was more rewarding, I think, than anything that could have come out of that hunt. So that was really awesome. And again, thanks to you guys if you listen. And then speaking of turkey hunting, I've been just ignorant to turkey hunting, because I've said it 100 times. I've never been a turkey hunter, never got into it. And it never really crossed my mind in the time that I've been out here in California. When I was in North Dakota, I never claimed residency. And at the time, I don't know if it's changed, but at the time, non-residents couldn't get turkey tags up there. And so whenever I moved to California, I just never even considered it. Honestly, I'd even figured that it was the same way, because California can be a little, I guess, I feel like I can't use conservative and liberal in the right way in this conversation, but basically there's some things you probably think you wouldn't be able to do in California that you can. For example, like back home in West Virginia, like every single county has their own stipulations as to like how many deer you can kill, and whether you can kill 2 bucks, and whether you got to kill a doe before a buck, and a lot of regulations per county. And then you get out here and we're just in one massive zone that covers a bunch of counties, and it's buy a deer tag, go shoot a deer. Like, it's just some different things I wouldn't have expected. And even compared to, I'd say that North Dakota might even been a little more strict on their regulations than West Virginia was. But anyways, I'm so bad about going down these rabbit holes and getting on tangents. But when I got out here, I just assumed it was going to be as strict as possible. And also, I just didn't have an interest in turkey hunting, so I never tried. Anyways, finally found out recently that all I need is my hunting license, which I have, and upland game stamp, kind of like a duck stamp, but out here they have an upland game stamp. And I just need to have that, which I do, and I can go hunt turkeys. And so I was talking to Peter, which if you saw my last podcast, he was my podcast guest. I was talking to him because in our conversation he had mentioned shooting a couple turkeys. And I said, okay, I made a bit of a joke. I'm like, we'll have to talk off camera. You'll have to put you on some turkeys. And anyways, earlier this week, after being home and turkey hunting, even though, like, I don't know if we could have had less action on our turkey hunt, but I still feel like I got bit by the bug. And as soon as I got back and I knew I could hunt here now, I'm dying to go turkey hunting. So I've messaged Peter. I'm like, hey, where can a guy find some turkeys out here on the Central Coast? And he basically said, he gave me the name of some public land up north a little ways. He's like, look into this place. And I looked at it on a map, and if I was scanning through onX, now granted, I guess now I'm learning maybe it's different for turkey, but if I was looking at onX and I was looking for public land, this is probably the last place. Even if I saw it was public land, I would probably not even like tap on it to get the info, and I'll explain why. Number one, it is right off, I'm talking like borders the main vein highway that goes north to south in California. Okay. And not only that, it is not very deep from the highway. It's long. It's still, I think, totals almost 1,000 acres if you count the two pieces. But it's not deep off the highway, and it's just very unassuming. I guess unless you're turkey hunting. Because so I decided, we had a bow shoot, like a fun shoot this morning at the bow range. And afterwards, I went home, I grabbed the family, and I'm like, hey, let's go up here and check out this piece of public land. And the intention was to go up there and hike in and throw a couple crow calls, maybe hit the pot call a little bit to see if I could get anything to answer. Now, being an ignorant turkey hunter, I don't know if running through there at 5 o'clock in the evening is the right way to find turkeys, but we decided to do it. We walked along the little creek that runs through the property, and I was honestly finding nothing there to make me think that there were going to be turkeys. So we stayed probably a half hour walking in, and I was like, all right, let's head on out of here. We had some other stuff that we needed to do. We wanted to stop at REI while we were in the area. And anyways, lose my train of thought a little bit. As we were leaving, I was like, well, because there was a kind of a dirt road that spanned the length of this property. So I was like, well, let's at least drive the dirt road the rest of the way out. And at that end, there's an outlet onto the highway. And maybe I'm giving away too many descriptions, and somebody that knows the place can check Onyx and find this spot. But regardless, public land, we do with it what you want. But we're going out this road towards the next gate. We come up over this rise, and as soon as we hit it, boom, there's turkeys in the road, 2 turkeys. They're probably 100 yards off. So I hit the brakes, throw out the binos, and it's a really nice tom. Like, he probably had a 9 or 10 inch beard, and he was rolling around with a hen. And as soon as I saw the turkeys, I saw the trees, and I was like, that is where they're roosting. Because the whole time we're walking this property, I'm like, these trees just don't look like somewhere that a turkey would be roosting. But as soon as we saw these turkeys in the road, I saw these trees that were different than everywhere else, and it was just like, boom. That's where those turkeys are roosting. There's water right there below them. It all made sense. And honestly, I was 100% convinced, yeah, I will come out here and bust my butt and get, I'll get my butt kicked in by this one tom that's locked down on this hen. But anyways, it was enough to give me hope, because at one point I was like, okay, yeah, we gave it a look, whatever. So we kept on going out that road to go out the other gate. We get there, gate's locked. Oh, man, okay, now we got to go back the other way. So we turn around and go back the other way, and right as we get to the outlet onto the highway, I stop and pull up Onyx again to give another look at the property, and the road goes a little bit further back south, and I was like, okay, we'll just drive out that way, and just basically just say that I looked at all of it at least, instead of half of it. And so we go past the outlet onto the highway, and we go a very short ways, and boom, gate shut. This one wasn't locked, however, but there was another road that turned off to the west. So we go to follow that road to the west, because there was a field down there I wanted to check out. It looked pretty open. I just want to see if maybe there was anything hanging out in the field. And no sooner did we take that turn and kind of got to the top where the hill starts rolling down, and I'm talking turkeys everywhere. If you follow me on Instagram, well, you probably won't see it now because I posted the story today, but I posted the story. It was at least 20, maybe 25, something like that. I'd say about half of them were Jakes and Toms, and I was like, yeah, I instantly sold. I'm like, yes, I'm going to come back here and try to turkey hunt. Now, part of me was like, it's Saturday. We came out here before legal hunting time ended, because in California you can hunt until 5 p.m. in the spring season. Like, this is kind of weird, though, that there's nobody hunting. And then it dawned on me, maybe I shouldn't say this because it gives the place away even more, but the spot is specifically bow only. You can't shotgun hunt this place. But anyways, I was instantly sold. I'm like, yep, I will make an effort. Then on our way back out to hit the highway, there was this really lush green field, like kind of in the creek bottom, and we saw I haven't seen many turkeys, but I can't imagine one bigger and more beautiful than the tom that we saw on our drive out. It was just a beautiful turkey. Very long-winded, as I always am in explaining things, but I'm going to go turkey hunting in the morning. And not probably, unless somehow I shoot a turkey tomorrow and Peter shoots one during the week, I will almost say with certainty that we're going to go turkey hunt next weekend. And now this is where I might get in a little bit of hot water, but I cleared it. I cleared it with the boss being my wife. So I've been very strict at following the restrictions for my recovery after post-surgery. My wife has been very strict on me making sure I follow them. However, I am not confident that I can kill a turkey with my recurve even at 10 yards. And that's just the odds of me getting within 10 yards of a turkey and being able to draw back a bow. I'm just going to chalk it up to 0%. But anyways, we agreed that as good as my recovery has went, that if I'm only drawing my compound bow back the one time to shoot the turkey, we're cool with it. So one prereq I had to hit is we had to come home and she had to see me draw my bow and make sure that I didn't tweak something. So I came home, drew my bow, showed her I could do it, and we're both very comfortable with me taking a chance at hunting these turkeys tomorrow. A little birdie in the back of my mind. So something I'm really bad at is I will have conversations in my head based on what I assume somebody is going to say about me or something that I say. And this is one of those times where somebody might say, well, you haven't shot your compound bow in 2 months. So why would the first time you shoot it be at a turkey? Well, maybe I'm arrogant. I'm fairly confident in my ability to shoot a bow. I'm extremely confident in how my bow was shooting prior to surgery. And so I'm confident that within 30 yards, I have no doubts at all that I can kill a turkey with that thing. So, disclaimers, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to go try to turkey hunt tomorrow. I have no decoy. Apparently, no Walmarts in the area keep them in stock. There's no decoys for sale on Marketplace. So I'm going to wing it. Now, I was kind of surveying the place on the way out, especially in the spot where I saw that big tom at on the way out. But where these birds were kind of loafing at when we saw them, and the way that they were moving when they came off the fence that they were sitting on, they were heading towards, like they were going to go to that big green field. Well, bordering that field is a creek with some. I mean, it's pretty thick brush in there on the creek banks. So again, being an ignorant turkey hunter, well, an ignorant guy trying to hunt turkeys. I won't call myself a turkey hunter yet. I'm going to take a chance on getting deep inside that brush line with a clear lane to shoot out of. And then the grass in that field is tall enough that when that turkey was standing in it and I was on base level with him, I could see the top of his chest to his head. So I'm thinking, like, let's say I had a decoy out there to begin with, I'm not going to be very visible in that tall grass. So what I'm thinking is if I get deep enough in the brush and having the tall grass, I can sit there and call, and my hope is that a tom will come looking for a hen anyways, thinking that maybe it's just too short to be seen through the grass. Maybe turkeys are smarter than I give them credit for, and they're not going to go somewhere that they can't visibly see a turkey, but I'll find out tomorrow, and you experienced turkey hunters will probably know the outcome by the time you listen to this. Anyways, I didn't think I'd talk that long about turkey hunting. I totally meant to mention that for those that are return listeners, or at least viewers on YouTube, probably noticed my setup looks a little bit different. We ended up moving the couch out of here, and I've had this table. It's just like a little fold down. It could be like a kitchen island type thing. It's got a couple bar stools. I've had it sit in the garage for a long time, and I just moved it in here. I moved all my aero building stuff in here to kind of make an aero building table. And this is just going to be the setup for really until we move. I thought about getting some like pedestal chairs, kind of like I don't know what a lot of people have in their podcast studios, I guess. But I don't have those. And if I ever have a guest, we might actually, I got some really nice new camping chairs probably just go with that until we get moved and move in somewhere and I get a legit studio set up. But anyway, that to explain the little bit different layout in here. And so now I'll go ahead and address, this is going to get a little bit deeper. I'm going to address the new intro. So those that have been around for a while, you know what this was from the beginning. I strongly believe that being active in the outdoors, hunting, fishing, camping, some type of difficult outdoor activity, I think it's very good for your mental health. Okay, I think it provides purpose, and that purpose is what improves your mental health. It gives you more of a sense of self-worth. I say you, I'm really talking about me. This is all the things that it's done for me. And there was a time in my life where I felt like hunting really it gave me the purpose to keep going, for lack of any better terms. And something that I want to address, and this is another situation where I assume what somebody's saying about me, and I don't know if it helps or hurts whether or not you know my full story and know me really well, but there's probably been people, and again, this is me assuming, that are like, what the heck does he have to be so pitiful about? Why is he depressed? Why does he have anxiety when it looks like he has all this stuff? And what I want to say to that is I have made a lot of snap decisions in my life without giving them, for lack of better terms, enough thought, without thinking them all the way through. And I'll just say that all those snap decisions put me in the positions I've been in my life. Some good, some not so good. And basically, now that I'm getting older, I'm getting wiser. That just comes with age. And I'm realizing that the decisions I made then put me in positions that I haven't necessarily wanted to be in or ever seen myself in. And it's put me in positions where I have not found purpose. And I feel like, at least, I don't want to make this sexist, but I feel like a man without purpose is lost. And that's just how I felt for a long time. I will admit, I am so much better now, and I can give all glory to God that He has bestowed what I believe is His purpose in me, and that's my purpose now. That's my driver. But at the time, I didn't have that, and the purpose I had, what made me feel like I was worth something to myself, was my ability to hunt and to fish and to provide. And people might think that's dramatic or think that's overplayed, but 100% that's how I felt about it. I was providing food for me and my family, for friends. I was providing purpose to my own life, and I was doing something that I felt was worth doing. I still feel like it's worth doing. And that was a lot of the reason that I started the podcast. It's what Mountains Are Everywhere means, okay? Now, this is not to say that that's changing, but what I've determined is I can only come on here so many times and keep saying the same thing. I can only keep coming on here and saying the outdoors is good for your mental health so many times. At some point, if not already, you're going to get tired of hearing it. And I can't keep having guests on asking the same questions and them giving the same answers. It's just the same thing at some point you're going to realize it's the same thing every time. So again, this is not an end to that. I'll always believe that, and there will be plenty of times where that still comes up in the podcast. But what I want to target now, that I've spent a year and a half now telling you the outdoors are important, I want to start diving into how you can get into it, what you can do when you get into it. For example, bow hunting is probably my biggest passion as far as the outdoors goes. And there's so many avenues, so many different things you can get into. You can shoot traditional, you can shoot compound, you can build your own arrows. There's just rabbit holes to go down. So what I want to focus on now is kind of hitting specific things within different activities. And again, to that example, I'm going to have a guest on. Probably, I don't know if it'll be the next podcast that you guys hear after this one or the one after that. He's all about building arrows, and he has. I don't want to speak too much for him before I have him on, but dude is very knowledgeable, and so we're gonna sit here and talk for however long we talk about arrows and their components and what makes a difference and what doesn't make a difference. Those are the kind of avenues I want to start going down. But again, that said, I'll never shy away from mental health on the podcast either. So again, when it comes up, we're going to talk about it. Now, there was something else on that note that I wanted to mention. Let's see if I have it written in my notes here. Oh my gosh, what was it? Man, I'm drawing a massive blank on whatever that was. I definitely edited that out, but I think I sat here for about a minute and a half trying to remember what the heck I was going to say. But anyways, why I wanted to say all that to explain the change in the intro is in the intro I said I wanted to talk, the old intro, again if you're new, said I want to talk about the outdoors and mental health and everything that connects the two. Again, not shying away from mental health, but I think the new intro really targets what I mean by mountains are everywhere. And when I talk about let's head for the mountains, we're heading for the nitty gritty about getting into an outdoor lifestyle, getting into bow hunting, getting into fishing, fly fishing, ocean fishing, whatever the heck it is we end up talking about. So that's the whole reason for the intro change. And then the podcast, the cover art change. That's just something that, because I know the frame of mind I was in when that picture. So first of all, the picture is a cartoonized or animated version of an actual picture that Hunter took for me on our first elk hunt in Utah. Right? Utah? Yes, Utah. And because I know the state of mind I was in and what that hunt meant to me, and the idea too of mountains are everywhere, to me when I look at that picture, it's just captured in that picture. I love it. It's one of my favorite pictures of all time. And then I just thought the animated version looked really sick, and it kind of is an ode to my original, which was kind of cartoonized. And I don't want to downplay that one. I really like that one too. Tierra worked really hard on designing that for me. And so I'll still probably use it for something. I don't know what it'll be yet. But yeah, I wanted to just discuss the new art that was an original or an actual picture of me that I edited to look the way it does. And I think it looks sick. I'm already thinking about putting it on a shirt or on a patch hat or something. Would be pretty cool. But anyways, I think that's mainly the gist of what I wanted to do with this one. I don't know how long I've been going already. It's probably going to be one of the shorter episodes, but just wanted to give an update to you guys about me. I just remembered it. I remember what it was. So another thing this podcast was when I first started was honestly, and I use it as this too, was honestly like a therapy session for me. So I have come to believe that there's a lot of things that you can do personally with yourself to improve your mental health. But then I also believe there's a point where you need some type of professional intervention, starting with therapy and then medical intervention with medication if you need it. So what I found with therapy, and why I recommend, even if you're not really bad down in your mental, I think it's still good, maybe once a month. Just go see a therapist, talk about, because we all have things that we don't say out loud. The interactions with people where we wanted to say something but we didn't, or the time that somebody just rubbed us the wrong way and we held on to it too tight and carried it for too long. We all have those instances, and we never vocalize them. And I think sitting with a therapist, and again, it doesn't have to be a therapist. Get your buddy. Go sit around a campfire or something, or sit by this creek, or sit in the living room. I don't care. But just to talk and say these things out loud. Getting them off your chest is for me and where I was. Again, if you have different, we'll just say just different issues that I was, maybe it's not the case. But for me, getting it off the chest was about 50% of the battle. And the other 50% was learning how to cope with it, learning how to let go of it. But talking about it is so much of the battle. And so when I realized how good it was for me to go to therapy, and I was getting better, and I was able to start drawing back from therapy, I still needed those moments to sit down and say, hey, this is what's going on in my mind, this is what I'm carrying. And the podcast and talking to the camera and talking to you guys is a way I was able to do that. And what helped so much, and continues to help, and I'm not going to beg, but I just encourage you to interact, because something that helps so much is when you, as the listener, talk to me about it. Or they said, hey, I heard you were going through this. I'm rooting for you. Or, hey, I heard you were going through this. I've been going through something similar. Or, hey, thank you for saying that you went through this. I want to tell you about this thing I went through. And it led to other people opening up and talking. So that's something I want so bad, is that interaction. And you can talk to me. If I don't know you, I will still talk to you about whatever. And it'll stay between us. I just know how important it is and how valuable it is to at least talk. So that's what this podcast was for me for a long time. And that's what kind of this episode is I haven't had an episode just you and me for a long time. So I wanted to sit down and have that just hash it out session where I haven't said a whole lot that was like weighing really heavy on me and I was struggling with, but it's still good to sit and talk like this. So that's, again, what this podcast was, what this podcast will continue to be. And it'll be episodes like this, maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months, maybe 2 in a row, where it's just me sitting down in front of the camera and ranting about something or getting heavy about something, whatever. I don't know. I love that aspect of just kind of the way that I built the podcast, that I can have episodes like this right here. And so I think I've got 2 more things I want to touch on, and then that'll pretty much be it for this one, because it is, I don't even know where my phone is to know what time it is, but I have to be on the road to get to this turkey hunting spot by like 3:30 in the morning. And it was creeping up, it was creeping up on 11 before I started recording. But anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is if you don't follow me on Instagram, so I do something, I can't say every Sunday anymore because I have missed the last at least 2, maybe 3 Sundays. But I try to do this thing every Sunday that I just call the Sunday Summit. And so I've had a few podcasts where I mention my faith. I'm a Christian, and I've leaned into that and rekindled that big time lately. And that's why I think I said just a minute ago, I thank God for the purpose that He's laid on my heart and that He's steering me towards. But so on Sundays, I try to do something on Instagram called the Sunday Summit, where I'll take a few minutes to read a passage or read verses and relate them to something going on in my life, or try to interpret them. And the Sunday Summit started because I feel like, and this is like, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's a good thing, because sometimes this is the only way people are exposed to Scripture. Is a lot of businesses will post a Bible verse on Sunday, and I didn't want to do the generic Bible verse, which, again, nothing wrong with it. Honestly, maybe I had been better off for doing it, but I wanted to give a little bit more, because I don't know. It's kind of hard to balance this, knowing that I'm trying to use social media to grow a following. And so I guess I never wanted it to be misconstrued that I was throwing Bible verses up on my Instagram to try and to gain followers, if that makes sense. And again, I don't want to say anybody's trying to do that. If you're somebody that does a Bible verse daily or every Sunday, do not stop, because like I said, that might be the only time somebody is exposed to Scripture that day or that week or that month, or maybe that's the first Bible verse they've ever read in their life and it sparked something inside of them to pick up the book and read. So do not ever stop. I just felt like it wasn't enough for me to just post a verse. So I wanted to do the summit where I tried to relate to, or what's the word I just used? Not describe, but kind of dissect those verses. And I ran into the wall very quick. I am obviously not a studied pastor. A lot of times when I'm reading a Bible verse, it's probably the first time I've ever read it. And so it was probably very presumptuous. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it. Presumptuous of me to think I could do that I could pick apart a verse, turn it into a summit. And bottom line is I couldn't. I had a few. There was a few that I wrote out by hand and get inside of my own head. It felt too rehearsed and not genuine, and so I tried to get away from that. And then finally, I caught myself. I caught myself doing exactly what, in my mind, I had accused other people of doing. I basically got checked. I got a heart check, and it was 2 Sundays ago. I was trying to put the summit together. I was recording, deleting. I could not put two sentences together coherently, and I got very frustrated. And that's when I stopped and I prayed. And I said, God, I feel one of two things happening right now, and I don't know which one. One of them is the enemy is fighting really hard to stop me from putting this out because he does not want me spreading anything about Jesus. And I felt okay with that. I was like, okay, yeah, that's probably it. But then I was like, no, there's another possibility here. And that possibility is my heart is still not in the right place. I'm still doing this hoping that in some way, somehow, it'll turn into likes and shares and follows. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And so what I did, and this is why I've been 3 Sundays without a summit. I said, God, that's it. That's where my heart's at. It's not in the right place. So I'm gonna stop doing the summits until I can speak with your words and not mine. And I've sat on that for a few weeks now, and I started this new prayer to kind of, not prompting, I don't want to say I prompt God to do anything. God does his own works in his own time for his own reasons. But I just started asking him every day, God, what do you want me to do today? Show me how I can serve you today. Show me what I can do. And I had a moment with my family a couple days ago. And it was one of those moments where I was leaving for work when it happened. And as soon as I got to work, I didn't start work. I got my journal out and I wrote down exactly what happened in that moment, exactly what I felt. I took up like 4 pages in my notebook. But anyways, what that moment has led me to, and what I feel is what I'm being called to do, and this. So another thing, I gotta slam the brakes real quick. Another thing about the summits, and I guess kind of where I knew my heart still wasn't quite. It's a weird line I was towing. And I'll try to explain it. So on Instagram, when you make a reel, anytime you make a reel longer than 3 minutes, it does not get pushed out to new audiences. So it won't be suggested to people, I guess, that don't already follow you or hasn't already engaged with your content. So I said, if I want this to reach more people, I have to keep it within or under 3 minutes. And 3 minutes is just not enough time to share Jesus. It's not. I did it a few times. I think there were some good ones, but to get the full message, it's just not enough time. So this is what I'm feeling led to do. And this will probably start in a couple of weeks. Either this, maybe the Sunday after you hear this one, if not the Sunday after that. My Sunday summits are going to become a full-length podcast. And when I say full-length, I don't mean like an hour and a half. I don't even think I mean an hour. I just mean longer than every Sunday summit I open up with. We're going to spend a couple of minutes together to look for God among the mountains of our lives. We're going to go more than a couple minutes because he deserves more time than that. So what I want to do now is release a Sunday Summit podcast every Sunday, and then I will clip it into a shorter reel for Instagram. Again, it's a weird, I don't know how to explain it, because obviously I want my social media to grow. I want it to become larger. But I'm also not trying, I'm not faking you guys. I'm not trying to say Jesus this and God that to get you guys to follow me. I'm sorry if anybody's ever felt like that. And so the longer Sunday Summits is hopefully going to be an opportunity for me to show you guys that. And maybe I'm explaining too much about this. You guys probably might know Hunter. One of my best buds, hunted with him for a long time. And I'll say this about him because he says it about himself, is that he's an over-explainer. And I think I got that a little bit, and that now I try to over-explain things. And at the end of the day, I told him, hey, you're a grown man. You don't have to explain yourself to me. I'm a grown man. I don't have to explain myself to you, but I want to because I feel like you guys deserve it. So anyways, that's what Sunday Summits, that's what I want them to become. That's my goal, is a 10 to 30 minute podcast on Sundays. Sharing, it might be, so I started a Bible study guide this week, and it's been very good in that it prompts me very well with good questions to reflect on whatever passage I'm reading for that day, and then applying it also to my life now. And so maybe it becomes, we have a 20-minute Bible study together, and I go through my Bible study on camera, and it encourages you guys to go through it with me, to get your own Bible study guide, or start your own daily devotional or something like that. Really, it's to share Jesus Christ, and two, it's to encourage you guys to find him for yourselves and follow him if you don't already, because I think that's one of, if not the greatest thing we can do in service to others is give them an opportunity for forgiveness and grace and salvation. So that's what that is going to turn into, hopefully. Maybe it crashes and burns. Maybe I crash and burn. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then, again, this is dragging on longer than I intended, but this turned out to be a very good, just one of those moments where I did need to come on and talk. So thank you for listening, sincerely. So finally, and this is going to preface, again, this is going to be another podcast coming very soon. I don't know if it'll be the next one you hear or the one after, but I'm coming to a head with this situation. And I feel like it's time that it gets a little bit of, we'll just call it publicity. I'm not saying that I have a huge following. I'm not saying that this is going to go somewhere. But right now, it's just the direction that I want to go with it. So, if you have listened to, I know it's been mentioned over a couple of the last episodes, that I am no longer able to hunt in the area that I have hunted for the last 4 years. For those of you that don't know, I have exclusively hunted on a military base for the last 4 years. The base maintained a hunting and fishing program that was enforced by conservation law enforcement officers followed all state laws and regulations, federal laws and regulations, and it's open to anybody, or since I've been here, it's been open to anybody that is granted base access. Now, I will not lie and say that that system was not abused over the last few years. Not by me. I will be honest, I have not abused it, but I know it has been abused. And I don't know the exact reason. I know the reason that's been cited. But what I'm leading up to is the base hunting and fishing program at the base I'm stationed at was suspended indefinitely in January of this year. It was cited that it was because of safety concerns. If true, the concerns that were cited are justified. I do not deny that whatsoever. Where I have an issue is the statement given was that this program was suspended until a sufficient number of conservation law enforcement officers were trained and available, or something. I'm paraphrasing slightly. That's been 5 months ago now, and there's not been a single word spoken about it since. There has been multiple inquiries, I know, into the status. I have made some myself. I have asked the specific questions I don't want to divulge too much yet, but there was an appropriate line to take this inquiry to. I went to that resource. I asked specific questions. What thresholds need to be met to bring back the hunting and fishing program? What options are you considering to reach those thresholds? What options are you taking to lessen the burden on conservation law enforcement officers? And at the time, I didn't give them because the conversation didn't make it far enough. But the answer I was told was that there was a holdup in the government hiring process, and the program is suspended until they can hire people to fill the roles. All well and good if, there's a big if here, I have multiple sources. I won't divulge them at their request to remain anonymous. But I do have sources that one stated that they're not actively trying to hire anybody for it, even though that's what was stated. There has been rumors about why, because this all was prompted when all of a sudden the group that was responsible for conservation law enforcement on the base suddenly stopped. They were told, you will no longer be doing conservation law enforcement per me. And this is a higher up that made that decision. And so part of me is questioning, okay, well, why was that decision made in the first place? Was that decision were they given the proper authority? Had a conversation today. The person that made that decision did not have the proper authority, or at least maybe they had the authority, but they did not have the permission of their superior to make that decision. They were reprimanded for it. They were told that they need to rectify the situation, to which, for whatever reason, that I will be asking the question to a source, all they were required to do was say, yes, we'll fix it. They weren't required to give a plan as to how. They weren't required to give a timeline. And as of that conversation happening, the one where they were reprimanded, no progress has been made. Another source has talked to somebody with skin in the game who said the possibility of that program coming back doesn't look good. And here's why that doesn't set well with me. One is lack of transparency. I literally called with the exact questions. I was told I'm not making this up, I was told there was a stall in the government hiring process, there was a holdup, and then I would have a better chance at writing my congressman than calling the line specifically meant for me to address these concerns. So I let that sit for a month. It's been a month since I made that call. I made that call again 2 days ago, expressing again my hope that they will decide to prioritize bringing this program back, and that I have what I feel are legitimate suggestions that could aid in bringing that program back. And I'm not saying I'm the only one that has these suggestions. Maybe the suggestions have already been made, but there's no transparency in what's actually being talked about, so we have no idea. I guess devil's advocate, again, it's a military base. Maybe we're not exactly, entitled to know everything. But my kind of take on it is that this land, this 100,000 acres that we're on, is entrusted to the base from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, that the base will utilize their resources for conservation of the natural resources on base. And it's congressionally mandated. If you guys aren't aware of, you can look up the Sykes Act. I want to grab my phone really quick so I can cite the other. Give me 1 second. This stool is not comfortable. Oh, sorry about that. I wanted to get my phone because I have all this written down. This is something I dug into when I was in my first 2 weeks of recovery. I couldn't do much of anything else, so I started digging into the regulations that required, or at least allow, well, I'm not going to say required because there's a stipulation in there, or necessarily it's not, but we'll say that it's recommended that military bases institute hunting and fishing programs for recreation of the personnel that utilize the base, as well as conservation efforts for the animal populations. Anyways, if you don't know this, you guys can look these up. So the Sykes Act was a public law passed in 1960 that directs the Secretary of Defense to carry out conservation of natural resources on military installations. From that comes the Department of Defense Instruction 4715.03. This is from July of 2024. There's a specific paragraph in this instruction that says the DoD will allow public access to fish and wildlife-oriented recreation on its lands, waters, and coastal reaches. This is an exact quote. Will allow access to fish and wildlife-oriented recreation on its lands, waters, and coastal resources pursuant to Section 60 of the Sykes Act. Department of the Air Force Manual 32-7003, published June 2024. Hunting, fishing, trapping, and dispersed outdoor recreation programs are appropriate on Department of Air Force installations. And then, so whenever bases have the, we'll say, I think it's based on size and the amount of resources on the base, but when they have the right amount of area and resource to allow these type of programs, that base has to have an installation natural resources management plan. And so Vandenberg has one specific, and inside that plan states Vandenberg Space Force Base is required to implement fish and wildlife management to include hunting, fishing, and wildlife viewing. There's also an executive order passed by President Bush back in 2007 that federal agencies shall, consistent with mission, implement actions that expand and enhance hunting opportunities for the public. This is specifically regarding, where are we at? Government agencies. So anyways, I feel like I'm losing my place here because there was something else I wanted to mention. But I will go and say again, yes, we're on a military installation. Because of that, every single one of these guidances or regulations have a stipulation. For example, the DODI 4715.03. When access is compatible with military mission activities. Inside the DAFMAN 32-7003, in accordance with installation, security, and safety requirements. So there is stipulations, and I get it, when security is at severe jeopardy, when mission is at jeopardy. But the thing is, this base has had a hunting and fishing program since 1985. So 41 years you've been able to hunt and fish on this base, and suddenly when was it? When I forget when the conservation team was disbanded, but I want to say it was around sometime around June of 2025. So exactly 40 years this base has had the program, and all of a sudden it was no longer going to be the responsibility of the group that had been doing conservation law enforcement up to that point. And so I'm curious, and the question that has not been answered to me is why that decision was made. I'm getting long-winded on this. My whole intent is to have a podcast about this issue specifically because I feel like it's not getting the attention that it deserves. And I have a source that is willing and close to the situation that is willing to answer specific questions. I was given actual piece of paper today, a memorandum that specifically shows since the suspension of the hunting fishing program, there are still conservation law enforcement duties that need to be met on this base that are being written into orders, and it's obvious they're written in a way to, how do I explain this? They're written in a way so that they don't have to bring the program back, if that makes sense. I want to tread lightly on this. First, I should have said this before. These opinions I'm sharing are 100% my own. They in no way reflect the thoughts and opinions or orders of the Air Force. Totally mine. But I'm trying to tread lightly and to not make accusations. But they're starting to it's starting to become a lot more convoluted as to why this program went away and what efforts are actually being given to bringing it back. And I've told this through 3 separate channels to Chain of Command at this point that and I'm going to say it out loud. People that get it, get it. Maybe to some people it sounds dramatic. Hunting and fishing are a way of life. They are a way to connect to the environment, to be connected to the food that we eat, and they provide 100%, I'm living proof, they provide purposeful activity. And it is very good for morale and welfare, in my opinion, of a military base to have a type of program that allows people to utilize a resource. This place is 100,000 acres. There's wildlife habitat on this base like you would not believe, and that you can't find within, 100 miles almost any direction of here. It's kind of an oasis. And call me butthurt because I had access to hunt it, and now I'm just salty that I can't hunt anymore. But when hunting means and fishing means as much to me, or as much as someone as does to me, you'll understand that. And I'll say I'm out of here in less than 2 months. I'm PCS out of here. So I'm no longer in the position to see the benefits of this program coming back. 100% this is for those that are coming after me, that I want them to have the opportunity to hunt and fish on probably the best landscape to do it on the Central Coast. And so I got way long-winded on that. I probably shouldn't have went so deep. I probably just lost half of my next podcast about it. But the hunting and fishing program is gone. They say it's only suspended, but the word through the grapevine is that it might be more than that. And I am seeking clarity, transparency, and action on bringing it back. And I'm actually very excited to do that podcast whenever that one comes up in the next week or two. Hopefully, you'll be back to listen to it. I want to say thank you for listening to this one. If something resonated with you, please interact, comment on this, share this, send me a DM, give me a thumbs up, something. I love the interaction with you guys. And Also, if you could, like and share, and big one is subscribe. Kind of help me grow this channel and help it reach more people. It does do so much for me when you guys interact like that. I would really appreciate it if you did it. You can follow me also on Instagram and YouTube. At Mountains Are Everywhere. At Mountains Are Everywhere on Instagram, just Mountains Are Everywhere on YouTube. If you're already on YouTube watching this, thank you. If you're listening to it on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you're listening to it, know that there is a video version on YouTube. Go over there and check that out. And I would appreciate it if you subscribe to me while you're there. And I feel like I ended that on a bit of a somber note, but it is about 3 hours until I have to get up and be on the road. I'm going turkey hunting tomorrow. I'm jacked about it. Going to Bow Disciples Challenge 4 here in a couple weeks. Jacked about it. Won't be shooting my compound there because I can't withstand shooting it that much. We'll be shooting the recurve. And honestly, so I'm probably going to get too deep on this too. Because I'm not going to be shooting the big courses down there this year, I think I might be limited to only one course so I can actually shoot with the recurve. So I'm going to have a lot of free time. Two things I want to do down there. I want to podcast. I want to record while I'm down there. And two, I was looking on the maps last night since I've gotten bit by this turkey hunting bug. The area where the bow shoot is held borders a national forest. And so I'm considering spending my mornings not shooting the courses, but possibly getting after some turkeys down there if I can. But we'll see. Thank you for listening to this. I thank you. I can't say it enough. Thank you for spending this time with me. You keep climbing, and I promise you I'll be climbing too. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mountains Are Everywhere podcast. If you want to stay up to date, be sure to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to bring you another one. Until then, you keep climbing, and I promise I'll be climbing too.